Welcome back to another episode of the Rabbit Hole Podcast with Chris Hunter and Daniel Horton, where we dive into a variety of topics and we go deep down that rabbit hole on these topics, man. How you doing today, Daniel? What's up?
Doing good, my brother. How about you?
Doing wonderful, man. Wonderful. Been, to say the least, an eventful week and weekend, but doing well, man. Doing well.
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
Yes, sir. So we're going to dive right into the first topic today, man. You know, it's what's hot right now, man. It's Michigan football. I was able to get to the game, at least for a half this weekend, man, and got a chance to see him up close and personal. So let's just dive right into it, man. We got the new news today after, a up and down performance from on both sides of the ball. We got a new quarterback going into this highly contested, highly anticipated USC game. So what's your thoughts initially on Alex Orji being named the University of Michigan football starter for this upcoming game against USC?
So I listened to Devin Gardner and Sam Webb this morning on the Big 1050, Monday morning quarterback. And Devin made a prediction that Warren was going to start and not Orji. And shortly after, Sharon makes the announcement during his Monday presser that Orji's going to start. And for me, it just seems like more, I don't want to say incompetence or being unprepared, but it's just like now it's like when you're a kid and you tell one lie and then a couple weeks later, some up comes around that same topic. You got to tell another lie to keep the first lie going. And you got to tell another lie. So you end up piling lies on top of each other to like keep this story going because you didn't handle it right the first time. And I think that's what they're doing now. Like, okay, the first week against Fresno, they both should have played series. They both should have got time on the field to see what they can do and continue the QB battle because obviously they weren't live during camp. They weren't able to be hit or tackled. There was no pressure, blah, blah, blah. So the first game, that's when against inferior competition, that's when you put them both out there to see what they can do. They did it previously with JJ and K McNamara. And, I was just kind of wondering why they didn't do it the first game. And so you Warren plays, you bring Orji in the spot plays. He runs his little read option plays. You do the same thing the next game, but Warren throws 3 interceptions. So now you're put in a position to where I have to make a decision or I look like I'm not giving this kid a chance. So then you throw him out there and consequently he still only throws 2 throws 2 passes in a quarter's worth of offense, right?
You got a touchdown out of one.
Yeah, so it's like do you really have confidence in this kid? And now you're going to throw him out there where he hasn't been prepared to be the starter. And you'll throw this fake confidence behind him, like, yeah, we believe in Alex. Alex is chomping at the bit to play. But yeah, any competitor would be chomping at the bit to play. But have you prepared him to play up until this moment, or has he been, And it just shows. I think for me, it shows a lack of experience from the coaching staff. Right? They've been in one quarterback battle since they've been in, and that was K versus JJ. And it's like he almost wanted to play it well. Okay, Warren won the job like McNamara supposedly did, and we go bring JJ in, run spot plays with him and let him run the read option like he did his freshman year, or like they want to use that same blueprint, and that's not the situation you're in. So for me, it just shows like, okay, we made the I don't want to say we made the wrong choice the first time. I just think the way they went about making a choice the first time has put them in a position to now, okay, we're going to start Orji, and let's see how that goes. So now what if he doesn't play well, Chris? Now you're probably going to lose both of them because I know Davis Warren is in the tank right now.
It was tough. You put both of them in a bad a bad scenario. I think Michigan is dealing with a little bit of an identity crisis on what they wanted to kind of be. I think Davis Warren gave them the best opportunity to be a more traditional kind of team and run the ball and have some throws in the pocket. And if you go to Alex Orji, I think you fully have to go to what best suits his skill set. Like I think he's shown enough that he's not going to be your traditional in the pocket passer, So you have to change kind of everything you kind of do to lead to his strengths and have him have the best ability to go out there and affect the game. But for me, I think he's the more dynamic option. So if you're going to have two options that you're unsure about, for me, I want a higher upside option that's going to lean more into our identity. All right, we're gonna be smash mouth. We're gonna run that ball down your throat, and we got multiple threats in the backfield now who can run that ball, and you have to account for. And now, if I can throw the ball just a little bit, down the field, then that still puts a threat on the defense because now they got to worry about running backs, they got to worry about quarterbacks, they got to worry about a heck of a tight end. Hopefully he's healthy moving forward, but they got to worry about different options in that. But now I agree with you. I think it's one of those things where they wanted to kind of pivot and get to a little bit different style. New coaching staff, new OC. They want to get to a little different style. So I think Davis Warren at the end beat out Orji on that particular style that they were looking to kind of play moving forward. But it's going to be a tough one, man. Like you say, he didn't get the reps enough for me to feel comfortable that he's going to do well. But I do think he's dynamic enough if they put him in the best position and good positions that he can make some plays happen. And it might be a blessing in disguise, with him running the ball more. That shortens the game. That tilts that scale of time of possession more in our favor if we're running more, running plays and that keeping that USC offense off the field. So, hopefully for him, he's ready, which I think he is. But hopefully for him, everybody steps up to the plate and the offensive line continues to get better. Our receivers and everybody else continue to improve and understand what they're doing more and more. And then our defense shores up even more and plays at a higher level at this upcoming game.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think what you spoke to is more so the functionality of it, right? I spoke to more of the preparation and the lead up to it as far as your decision making. But now that we're here, what are you going to do to put this kid in a position? How, like you said, you wanted to change your style of play to something more traditional, although the plays look very similar to last year, right? And you want to, open it up a little bit more. As you said, I know they've been telling wide receiver and quarterback recruits that are going to throw more, they're going to open it up more, right? So I get that part of it. But when it comes to like practicalness and functionality, like you have to win football games first. Like all that other stuff, like you can want to open it up, you can want to be this and want to be that, but to what extent, right? So, in my opinion, the way the offense looked with Davis Warren, it didn't look much. It looked like they were trying to run the same stuff they ran last year. And last year, we didn't have a very open and expansive offense. Like if you, like let's be serious. Like if you want to change the offense or you want to go more wide open, you're going to have to go get somebody outside of this group of coaches because they've been trained to. And I know they've coached other places, but the places they've had the most success is here. So that's what they kind of lean into because we've seen it work and win a national championship before, but you don't have that same personnel. So they're going to have to, the coaching staff, they're smart guys. They'll have to figure something out pretty quickly though. But I don't know and that's maybe me as a coach. I'm not really an in-season fixed guy. Like, can it happen? Yeah. But like if they switch to that, like you said, the more Orji-oriented playbook, how deep and extensive is that playbook really going to be? And you're practicing it like you're just implementing it 3 weeks into the season, right? Like as compared to if you have been running it since the spring. So
maybe it don't need to be complicated. Maybe you need to make this dude have less decisions to make. You get put some RPO packages in where he can use his skill set, and you just kind of, I don't want to say dumb it down, but you streamline what you're doing where guys can execute, and which reads you're gonna make. If this dude ain't open, he's open. If he ain't open, I'm running. So maybe that's kind of the thing that they need to lean more into. And I want to dive a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole that you just talked about as far as like recruiting and sometimes the decisions that coaches may make to appease to either upcoming recruits or to make your program look a little bit more palatable to want to come there. So, Michigan is known for being smash mouth running the football. So how can I recruit a top tier quarterback? How can I recruit top tier skill position wide receivers in that if I don't show that we will have the ability or the game plan to want to throw the ball? I think, I've been in situations in coaches' meetings and locker rooms where, we got a big man coming on campus. You better believe if he's at that game, we throwing the ball in the post. We're running some more post-up plays during that game that he had the game so he can see himself in those positions. So is this a kind of thing where you think they're trying to like show that we can be different and get some of those different athletes and quarterbacks and skill positions in here, or is one of those things where you just think like, hey, I'm a new OC and I want to lean more into my style of play. What do you think about that?
I think it's definitely recruiting affects that decision making. Maybe not during the week now, during the season, but definitely in the spring and off season when you're thinking about how we want to build the program going forward, and especially when you have the number one high school quarterback in the country in your backyard and he's going to LSU to play football. You got to kind of, and not just him, but you lost a 5-star quarterback the year before that went to UCLA out of high school as a freshman. He was a 5-star kid, number 2, 3 player in the country. Lloyd Carr's grandson, another one that, felt like maybe he should have walked to Michigan, but he ends up going to Notre Dame, right? So, like, you have all of these quarterbacks that you whiffed on, and I would imagine you sit back and take inventory of why. Where you hand the ball off 32 straight times in the second half of a football game, yeah, that's great for practicality purposes and winning in the moment. But if you're a big-time high school quarterback, you're looking at that like, man, like, or a wide receiver, like, do I want to spend the whole half just blocking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking, man. These kids want to catch touchdowns, they want to throw touchdowns, they want to be in the race for Biletnikoffs and Heisman trophies. And, our style of play doesn't lend itself to that now. We win a lot, but that's not winning, and individual accolades don't always.
Yeah, they don't always go hand in hand. They don't coincide because, like you said, if you're running it 32 times straight to win a game, that looks great. But on the other end of it, you see guys like, nah, I ain't coming here to do that. Come on, man. Like, come on. But you got to get the right type of guys to buy into that. And that's what they had last year with a bunch of guys who have been around the program, seen the ups and downs, some near misses as far as getting to the championship game and the playoffs and all that. So they bought into the bigger picture, which was we trying to win a chip by any means necessary. We need to run it 40 times, we're going to run it. But at the end of the day, we're going to get this chip. No, that's great, man.
But that's shaped by the losing that they went through early in their careers, though. So these kids coming now, they don't have that reference. They have the only thing that they know, especially if I came in as a freshman the second year where they made the playoff for the second time, right? Or if I was a freshman, the first playoff. So the only thing I know is us making it to the playoffs every year and having to win a national championship, right? I don't have the fortitude built in going through the COVID season or the year before where they went like 8-4, 9-3, something like that. They don't have that same resolve, right? So
you're a victim of your success sometimes. You're coming into it after all that national championship, new locker room. We got the leather seats, we got the massage chairs, we got the bowling alley in the locker room now. So you lose a little bit of that edge that you have.
You get Coach Loveland catching and carrying the ball with one hand like he's Deion Sanders and kicking the ball to the other team. That's symptoms of like, I'm feeling myself. We're feeling ourselves a little bit too much right now.
So now we got to reel it all back in. But hey, that's a good segue when you talk about Coach Prime to our next topic. It's always a lot of media fanfare and talk about Colorado and Coach Prime and the Sanders crew. But this week they was able to shut up a lot of the haters, man, and do what they needed to do against Colorado State, man. So what did you feel about, watching that game, seeing what happened, and how do you see it moving forward for Colorado, after a big win this weekend?
You consider that a big win?
That's the question.
So what makes it big is it's a rivalry game.
It's a rivalry game, and they look very, very suspect the week before that. But who's to say, who is Colorado State? Is Colorado State world beaters where you say you beat them and that's a big win? But I do think it's a win that shows that, they can perform when needed. Now, can they project that out into multiple wins coming up in their schedule? That's yet to be seen. For sure. What's your thought?
I think with the Colorado State, it's a big win in the sense of all the pregame talk, all the talk during the week from Colorado State about what they were going to do and all this other stuff, and all the stuff, everything the talk that between back and forth between both sides during the offseason. So it was big in that sense that, okay, we stepped up and backed up our talk, and we played the way that we said we were going to play. We did the things we set out to do. But I think opponent really matters, right? And Colorado State hasn't shown themselves to be a good team over the last couple of years. They're rebuilding. I noticed the coach's second year, he does a lot of talking for a guy that's only in his second year in the program and hasn't won very much, right? And so
for sure,
I think he got served a slice of humble pie this weekend.
Big slice.
Yeah, he got served some humble pie this weekend, but I think Colorado's humble pie is still coming.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those things where, like, okay, y'all beat an inferior opponent, but the road gets tougher as the season progresses, and they still showed some weaknesses as far as their offense and their play calling and how they manage the game. Their defense looked pretty good. I will give them credit for that. Their defense looked fast and physical. Their secondary looked really good, to be honest. So I'll say you can see the improvements on the defensive side of the ball. I just think their offensive philosophy is really flawed when it comes to winning big-time college football matchups, right? And that's one thing about college football. The team who normally runs the ball best or runs the rushing battle normally wins in college football. That's
for sure.
That's been like that for forever, right? And when you don't have a commitment to running the football, when better teams that are going to get pressure on Shedeur and make him, make it uncomfortable for him back there, are you going to have a running game to lean on? And so I think their philosophy is a bit flawed for better competition. So I'm interested to see where it goes from here. I predicted them to win 5 games, and right now I feel pretty good in my prediction. So
yeah, I mean they got so much talent on the outside on offense, especially with Shedeur and the receiver they got. I'll take one of them for Michigan football for sure.
A couple of them.
They got some guys who are super duper talented.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there is some glaring things that you see that did improve against the Colorado State. But for the most part, you don't see those things just changing overnight and switching to be a highly competitive team. But, the stuff that Travis Hunter is doing, I'm going to claim him as my cousin. Chris Hunter, Travis Hunter. I'm sure we got some type of lineage. I'm going to claim him as my cousin Travis. Stuff he's doing out there is like, it ain't that far, man. Ain't too many Hunters around it, so my cousin Travis, we gonna claim him, but no, he is top of my list for Heisman right now for sure. The stuff that he's doing on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's taking 1 or 2 plays off the whole freaking game, and being super duper dynamic. Man, do you think he can keep this type of stuff up throughout the whole season on both sides of the ball? Like the amount of snaps. They say he don't even practice for 3-4 days during the week just to get ready for the weekend. Can he keep that up?
Yeah, I think he can, because they're not asking him to do a lot. Like, it's not he's either a press man or cover 2 on defense. He's damn good at it. Don't get me wrong, right? He's either 1 or 2 coverages on one on defense, and then on offense he runs a slant, he runs a dig, and he runs a go ball. So I don't think, and he's not the focal point of that. He's not being. I wouldn't challenge him I wouldn't throw the ball his way a bunch of times on defense either. So it's not like he's like directly involved in the action all the time. The same thing on offense. Like, Shedeur spreads the ball around. He still catches 9 or 10 balls, but they throw it 50 times a game. So it's being spread around a lot. So I think if he played like who's a dual threat guy that I can remember, that he's a little bit more involved because of the volume, right? But I think like when I remember Charles Woodson playing, like I remember him playing in the big game in the big house, and he caught a post for a touchdown, and it was a meaningful, like it was a close game, and like it separated Michigan from the opponent. I think there's a difference between what they're doing, right? Because Woody was directly involved in everything when he came in on offense. The plays most of the plays that they ran were geared to get him the ball.
Yeah.
I think it's like Hunter has more volume, so his numbers are going to look better, right? But I got to see that translate to affecting win. Now, if they go out and they play like they play in like when they play Utah or somebody like that in the Big 12, and those numbers directly lead to Colorado winning, then I'll say, okay, yeah, he's at the top of my Heisman when they play a big time, and those numbers are that way. But when they played Nebraska last week, those numbers really didn't matter much.
They did matter. It's a week to week thing. It's a what have you done for me lately type thing. But like you said, if he can continue to kind of just be a force and make those dynamic plays on both sides of the ball throughout, I think he'll definitely be in consideration. Whether he be
sure.
the top
he
candidate,
should be in New York already.
He should be there. His ticket should be booked, flights, hotel, all that already for what he's been doing, man. But no, more shout out to Colorado and Coach Prime for shutting up the haters at least for now.
For a week.
For a week. Sometimes that's all you get is week to week.
Hey, but that's the beauty of the madness and like the atmosphere that they created. They're almost like the Floyd Mayweather of football. Like people, and they tune in. Some people tune in to watch them to see if they're gonna lose, and then the other people tune in just because they want to see Coach Prime do well. So it's almost like the Floyd Mayweather effect of college football.
Hey, either way you slice it, you tuning in. Whether you tuning in to see us lose, to see us win, you tuning in. I love it. I
haven't missed a Colorado game in 2 years.
Hey, they got me locked in. They got me locked in too. If I ain't watching Michigan, I'm watching one of their games for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right, man. Next topic, man. Who that?
Hey.
Who that beat them Cowboys like that, man? So talk to me about your team coming into this game, and how did you think, that your team perform and going forward? Like, what you feel about them Saints, man? I know you're a Saints through and through fan, and like what you see going forward with them.
Man, so I kind of expected that. I didn't expect us to blow them out, but I expected us to win simply because we've had one of the top defenses in the league since Dennis Allen has been there, whether he was the defensive coordinator or since he's been the head coach. Our defense has been top 10 in the league every year, top 5 in the league some of those years, right? And the problem has been at the end of the Sean Payton era, Drew Brees wasn't the same quarterback. His arm wasn't as lively, so it changed the offense completely. So for 2 years, the offense was Drew Brees' last 2 years, the offense was terrible, right? For a number of reasons. Offensive line wasn't good. Drew Brees wasn't good. Then once Payton retires, we keep Pete Carmichael, Sean Payton's OC, even though Sean Payton called the plays, that was his right-hand man. We keep Pete Carmichael. He's 70 plus years old. Not saying he can't do the job, but it just seemed like the offense got stale under him. Tried to do a lot of things we did under Sean Payton with different personnel. It didn't work. And that's what Dennis Allen has been his OC for the last couple of years. And so this summer we hired Clint Kubiak. And I got excited immediately. I don't know anything about Clint Kubiak. I just know his last name. And I know in the football community, if you're a Shanahan or a Kubiak, you come from under that Denver Broncos tree where everywhere that they've gone, people that come from everywhere that they've gone, they've played high-level offense, right? They've been able to run the ball well with their blocking scheme, and they've been able to, with the pre-snap motions and alignments, been able to confuse defenses and create the matchups that they want in order to score points. We watched the 49ers do it to everybody. Been in the NFC Championship game the last few years because that's, Kyle Shanahan is considered a brilliant offensive mind. Kubiak comes from that same tree. So when we hired him, I got excited, right? And so when you see that offense, that San Francisco style offense with similar pieces, AK4 Alvin Kamara is, in my opinion, just as good as Christian McCaffrey. Just as talented as Christian, same type of all-purpose back.
For sure.
You got Chris Olave, you got good receivers, you have a tight end, you have 2 tight ends actually that can maybe not as good as Kittle, but they're good players, right? And so with that defense, now that we've put the offensive pieces together and we have a real offensive game plan, I kind of expected us to, after what I saw the first week, like people, you beat the Panthers. No, it's not about beating the Panthers. It's about how we beat the Panthers. We scored 47 points.
Beat the brakes off.
Yeah, we scored 47 points. So we seen how explosive the offense was, how diverse the offense was the first week one, I kind of knew coming into this week, hey man, we go play good defense. Now that we have a top-notch offensive coordinator and scheme, he's young and innovative. I like our chances to make a run this year.
Who that, man? Who that? Them Saints got it done, man.
Yes,
It's always good to see them get it done against the Cowboys, America's team. I grew up and a lot of my uncles and stuff were Cowboys fans. And so it was always good when them Super Bowls came around to root against, back in their heyday in the Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman days, Michael Irvin days. Good to root against those guys and have some fun with the family, man. But no, I mean, that was a heck of a game. More power to them Saints and the Saints Nation. And hopefully y'all can keep it up, man. But we're going to move forward to my team, which ain't the Cowboys. I grew up in the Chicagoland area in Gary, Indiana, man. I grew up going to Bears games, Soldier Field, hot cocoa, wearing 3 or 4 layers of coats and jackets and gloves going to games. And it was great to see, us get a number 1 pick in Caleb Williams at quarterback. We haven't had that type of talent there probably since, I would say, like a Jay Cutler was that type of talent as far as a guy with arm strength, arm talent, and creativity. So for me, it was good to see, Caleb Williams get drafted. But right now, the performances have been very, very sloppy, to say the least, going in these first couple of games, man. What are your thoughts? Did you get a chance to kind of check that game out and check the stats out? What are your thoughts on what you project and see from Caleb Williams moving forward?
You just got to get comfortable, man. It's his second game in the league. Played against a really good Houston team that's turned it around and built a pretty good team really quickly. I just think he has to get comfortable. They have the weapons. Weapons. Ooh. They have the talent now. The Bears have kind of flipped their roster over the last 2 years, and it's just now they just have to wait for the quarterback to mature and step into. It's like you have these pieces and you're waiting for the quarterback to slide right into his piece, his spot, and we go take off. And I think once he gets acclimated to NFL football and things of that nature, I think the Bears are going to be tough to deal with. I think he made a few, like last night was rough and sloppy, but he made a few throws last night that was like,
okay. No, he give you a couple and you're like, oh my goodness, that thing came off just smooth and it's right on the money, different angles, and like his creativity and escapability in the pocket is beautiful. So you got to get that ball out and just sometimes get it out of there, get out of trouble. But his ability to extend plays and make plays on the run and on the move, and he took some chances last night that he shouldn't have took. Just some air balls he threw up there, just hey, go get it, and those things turned into some interceptions. But I like you said, we got a lot of talent. On the outside, we got good running backs, we got good tight ends, good receivers. The defense is always going to be problematic and cause problems for other teams. So I'm excited about it, but you just got to slow it down. Understand that sometimes the best play is just throwing that thing away or throwing it in the dirt and going on to the next down and the next opportunity. So it'll be exciting to see how he grows. Right now it's still early. It's still good weather. So we'll see how he can adjust to that Chicago winter and the cold and that hawk and that brick and that all that, whatever you want to, when he come out and that thing hit you on the neck, when you step outside, can he adapt to that type of scenario and that type of weather situation? Moving not only in Chicago, but when you talk about you go to other places in Green Bay and Detroit and Minnesota got indoor fields now, but that's something you're gonna have to deal with. So hopefully he can continue to get better, man. I like what I'm seeing. I just see a lot of growth, moving forward with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and they're 1-1. So like you said, I've been hearing people say all weekend when it comes to college football, it's better to learn those lessons when you're winning. Then you learn them lessons that you 0-3, 0-4. You looking down the line like, man, we gotta get better fast. But I think you'll see improvement rapidly with him. I think he's it sounds like he's a student of the game. He takes pride in his play and his performance. Like I heard a story where he, like, at 10 years old, he decided he wanted to be a quarterback. So him and his dad put together a plan to get him to where he is now. So I think a dude that's that calculated, that has that much foresight, I think if to think that he won't do what it takes to get better, I think you'll be selling him short. So I think you'll see him get better. You'll see it happen really quickly too.
No, sure. I love it, man. I love it. We need it, man. We need that type of quarterback in Chicago. Man, it ain't happened in a long time. Long time. All
Yeah.
right, man. Well, shoot, let's move on to our last and final topic of today, man. And that's going to be our youth basketball question of the day. Both of us are in our basketball lifers. Both of us have young sons and daughters and all of that stuff that's been in youth sports and youth basketball currently. So we always going to answer one of these questions for each one of our shows and our podcast here, man. So the question today is, man, how do you deal with parents that coach from the sideline? What is you've been on the sideline, you've been coaching youth basketball for some years now,
Hey,
and I'm
hey, hey,
sure
hey, get him out of here. No,
that's how it is. How do you deal with that, and what's your advice to tell parents about coaching from the sideline?
man, that's a tough question because I've definitely been that parent before. As my son has been coming up, and I felt like in certain teams, certain environments, the instruction was inadequate. Right? It's tough as a parent who has basketball knowledge, basketball experience. I've been a coach for a number of years now. It's hard to sit over there and like know that something isn't being done right and not say anything. So what I do is I try to coach the habits and not coach scheme or game moments because I feel like that's the coach's job, right? So like if I'm yelling at something, hey man, you need to run harder, you need to play harder, you need to block out, you need to like the basic things that any good coach or any coach would be telling him to do. I try to keep it along those lines, right? I'm not the parent that's like, man, shoot the ball, man.
Shoot the ball. Every time you don't pass it to him, he can't play. Shoot the ball.
No. I'm definitely not that parent. I try to coach more along the lines of like what's right fundamentally to the game, right? Like if you're violating any of those things, then I'm gonna be that parent yelling from the sideline. And that's kind of the reason why I've got into youth coaching over the last 4 or 5 years because I saw that there was a void, right? As far as coaches teaching and coaching the game the right way for that age group. Like I remember one of the first early teams my son played on, the coach was running ISOs for 6th graders. Like he got half the team going stand over here. He's running an ISO on the other side of the floor for his best player. Man, I was like, man, what is this?
What we
is
doing?
going on? Yeah. So, but to answer the question, you shouldn't coach from the sideline. I think if you're going to put your son in an environment, your son or daughter in an environment, or you're going to pay money for them to play on the team, do your homework to make sure that the coach is knowledgeable, the coach is teaching and coaching the right things, and then you just got to trust them from there. It's hard, right? But I would advise parents not to coach scheme, game plan, game moments. I would advise them to stay away from doing that because you don't know what the coach is asking them to do. You're not in practice every day. You're not as well versed in what the coach wants them to do from a play-to-play basis. So I would stay away from that. Like if you have some knowledge of the basics and the fundamentals of the game, like, hey, my son didn't block out, my son didn't run back hard on defense, my son is making one-handed turnover passes. Like you want to say something to them as they run by, yell something to your son about, hey, take care of the ball. Hey, pass the ball with 2 hands, do what you're supposed to. Then that's different. As a coach that's been on the other sideline and had parents yelling at their sons or trying to coach their sons, I can appreciate that aspect of it. It's the parents that when I'm trying to coach the kid and I'm calling the kid to come over here to the sideline so I can coach him, well, I have to call you over here to coach you because when I'm trying to coach you in the moment, you trying to figure out who you go listen to. Am I going to listen to my dad or am I going to listen to coach? Right. So those are the situations you want to try to avoid. Right. If you're going to coach your kid, coach him in the car on the way home. Right. Like most bad parents do.
Yeah. And even that's something that you have to be very, very strategic in how you approach it. You know, I've been in that same scenario. Like, I haven't coached my sons directly. I've always just been involved in certain things, but I haven't been like the head coach and coached them directly. So I always just try to, like you say, on the sidelines, I'm yelling more motivational things. I try to be quiet as I can. I got a loud, deep voice, so sometimes people get a little shook when I'm out there yelling. So I try to be a little bit more reserved and enjoy the game. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like you said, man, you gotta let the coach. You gotta trust that what he's doing is going to be the best for your coach. And then if it's not, then you have those conversations outside of practice. You have those conversations outside of the game venue. Don't pull
Yeah.
the coach aside right after the game and start talking trash. Hey man, you should put my son in. Like, always give us a cool off period where you can, have a healthy dialogue with the coach and move from there. But those motivational things, coaching and trying to get your kid to have the maximum effort, I think is the one thing. And then anything strategically, it's a time and a place for it, but it's not yelling on the sideline during the game. And when you're riding home in that car, be mindful of what you're reiterating to your son. Because if
Yes.
it's not something that's going to help him grow and move forward, and don't be the type of parent that gives your kid excuses for everything they do. Be real with them. And
Man.
and everybody is not doing your son or daughter wrong if they're not playing a lot of minutes. You got to be honest in what they need to do to get better to be able to garner and deserve those minutes. Like, don't, I remember my son came to me talking about, I need to get the ball more always. I said, so what are you doing to get the ball? Are you moving to open spots? Are you cutting hard? Are you running hard? Are you presenting yourself big and showing a target? If you're not doing those things, then don't come and run over me talking about I'm open. I need to get the ball more. You need to, like, the ball finds energy and you have to do more to get the ball. So don't
Yes, sir.
come whining to me about that. So it's one of those things where it's always a fun thing when you go in these venues to hear some of the stuff the parents and whoever bring the kids to the games yell from the sidelines is actually comedy for the most
Yeah.
part. But you just got to understand. Hey, trust these coaches, man. A lot of them, like you said, are out here coaching. They hearts out. They're not getting paid for it. They're volunteering their time or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't have the expertise and the knowledge. Us, we've played basketball all our life, coached basketball, been around and played it at the highest levels. So we have a knowledge base that a lot of folks don't,
Yeah.
and we still don't do that stuff. So just trust the people that you put your kid with, and if you don't, then you have to find options where you do find that trust and let these coaches be coaches.
Yeah, I think that's what you just said. The last piece of it is kind of the biggest piece, right? It's your money, it's your kid. If you don't like the situation, if you don't like go find another team. That's
Yeah,
how we
but
tell our parents that with the teams I coach with. Hey, look, we understand that we aren't a fit for everybody. And we understand that each kid isn't going to have the same experience. And if you feel like your kid is not getting the experience you were looking for, or do you feel like the program is too demanding, or whatever it is we're trying to do doesn't align with what you think you want for your kid, that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? There's plenty of other teams you can play for, especially where we have a team out here in Atlanta and in the DFW area as well. There's plenty of teams to play for. So
yeah.
I wouldn't want any kid to stop playing basketball or have a bad basketball experience because of me or us, right? So if it's not a good fit, hey, we'll help you find another team.
Yeah.
Right.
But I
So
would say this at the same time, you don't want to teach kids that they can run away from things that may be good for them that is not ideal at the moment. So just
exactly.
because you might not be where you want to be on this team in the pantheon of who's playing, who's getting buckets, who's doing that, this is a good situation for you to keep develop and learn, and you'll
Yeah.
get to that point. It's a process for everybody. So don't run away from stuff because it's not how ideal you would like it in the moment. Like, it's a
Yeah.
process to everything, man. So that's one of those things too, where you got to be leery of just moving from team to team and trying to pave the way for your son in the path of least resistance. It's going to get your son the playing time or the opportunities. Not like sometimes it doesn't work. You got to work your way up to it.
Yep.
You know.
If you focus on development, like we talked about last episode, right? If you're focused on your kid's development, I think you're going to understand that each stage of that development isn't going to be perfect or ideal. Like, you might have to fight through a little adversity at that stage, in that moment. For me, just for transparency, for my son, he's gotten a lot better, and now he's at the point of like forcing his way into the rotation of the starting lineup. He's at the point now where you're not competing against the other backups now. You're competing against the big dogs, the guys who've been starting, the ones that the coach has. I don't want to say favoritism, but he has a little bit more plans for at the moment. right? So your job is to go in there and wreck all of that. When y'all work out, when y'all compete against each other, your job is to do well enough and to play hard enough to put yourself in that coach's thought process. The way when he thinks about who's going to play point guard for me this year, your name comes up along with the guy that he already had earmarked for the position.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, that's the adversity that he has to fight through right now. It's not laid out perfectly. He's not the unquestioned starter at point guard going into his 9th grade season. So you're going to, at this stage of your development, you're going to have to go in every day with the attitude that you have something to prove. You're going to have a chip on your shoulder. You have to be willing to work hard and do things that other guys aren't willing to do. So that's just the stage he's in right now. So it's not, but we're, like you said, we're focused on development right now. So
focus on development.
Yep.
And everybody develops at a different pace. Everybody, matures at a different pace. So you just got to run your own race, control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
And that shout out to, who that shout out to, control what you can control. And keep it moving that way, man, because everybody develops different. Kids physically develop at a different, might be bigger, stronger, faster right now, but shoot, 3 years down the line, I'm gonna be 5 inches taller than you.
Yep.
What we saying? So, it's all about running your own race and understanding where you're at and continue to, like you say, come in and just compete every day. You competing against yourself to be the best version of yourself every day. And then you competing against the guys that you want to, go against and move ahead and compete against in that manner. So it's a competition every day. How can I get better every day? By competing against myself and whoever's put in front of me. It's a beautiful thing, man. That's why I love youth sports, man. It teaches a lot of life lessons.
Yes, sir.
If you use it in the right way. And it opens a lot of doors and connections that you make that can last a lifetime. That's the beautiful thing about not only youth basketball, but just youth sports in general.
Yep, you're 1% better every day. You strive to get 1% better every day. Take one step. It don't have to be a giant step. It could be a little step, but you strive to take a step every day, man. Especially for young kids who have time in the sport, you'll see good results.
Oh, that's good. I love it, man. So that's our youth basketball question of today, man. Any closing thoughts or remarks before we head on up out of here, man? Anything you got for us leading into next week?
Yeah, man. I know we had planned to do a G Harden segment. I know he was somebody that was near and dear to both of us.
Yeah,
but it's still hard to talk about right now. So I just wanted to just send my condolences to the family, to his kids, his wife, everybody, man, and everybody in the Michigan community. I think maybe next week you can kind of do a segment where we talk about how much he meant to us, and maybe. But right now, it's I see a lot of people on social media, different places, showing their love and respect and condolences for G. But for me, I can't. It's hard to talk about. So, but I just wanted to say, condolences to the family and the Michigan family as a whole for now. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It's something we'll definitely have an opportunity to dive more into. I think it'll be a good kind of therapy session to really, pay tribute, on wax like this for him. But yeah, I agree, man. Just condolences to everybody involved, his family, his wife. It's a huge loss to not only, Michigan athletics, but just the community as always touched so many people. And, going to the game this weekend, they had a nice, tribute for him during that first time out. And it was tough, man. I was definitely tearing up out there, and it took me, a couple possessions to kind of, get myself back together after seeing that, and so definitely, prayers to his family through this tough period, and he'll be missed by everyone, man, and we'll definitely have an opportunity to celebrate him for the impact he's made on, my life, your life, and countless others, man. But
for sure.
With that being said, man, that's the end of this episode of the Rapid Hold podcast with Chris Hunter and Daniel Horton.